You speak the language of money. Is this a language that more people should learn to speak? And if so, how should they do it?
Let me tell you what I learned from you. You said,
yo, what's going on, guys? I am here with my buddy, my close friend, the amazing Sharran Srivatsaa. Dude, I think it's actually the third YouTube video we've done together, at least on this channel.
Yeah.
And the first two, I know my audience is like, bring him back. This is amazing. And I brought him to the High Status Summit where he just rocked it. And if you weren't there, God, I wish you were, because it was epic. How did you feel about it?
the energy in the room was insane, man. Like, I think people don't realize that it's not about an event. It is about all the work that happens in a community before the event. So anybody can put an event on, but how the event gets there, who comes there, how receptive they are, how connected the speaker feels, how connected everyone feels. Like, the more connected we are, like, I feel an investment in that audience. And so it brings out a whole new person, right? And that's why it's an awesome experience to speak on your stage. Thank you.
Awesome. You were amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you. Every time I do an event, since I met you, you've been on the stage. And this is the last summit. If I ever do anything in the future, dude, if you'll be there,
I
would love
appreciate
to
it,
have
of
you.
course.
Yeah, always. So what was your big theme for what you talked about?
So I think a lot of times the world is getting very big picture right now. They're saying, hey, I'm gonna, I want to cure cancer. I want to change my life. I want to
save the turtles,
etc. And if you don't have the money, you can't sustain the message of sorts, right? So I think a lot of times I've one of my private mentoring clients, several of whom you know, felt really stressed out recently, and I said, that's interesting. So I had him pull up his calendar over the last 3 years, and I said, hey, just tell me where you were stressed out. So he looks at his calendar and his events, and he started charting where he was stressed out. And I said, okay, on your screen, I don't need to be a part of it, just pull up your bank account and look at those dates. There's an insane correlation between what it seems like just a cash buffer to stress. Mm-hmm. At least a baseline for a lot of people as they're getting started in this world. So I'm on this mission where I say, you know what, let me be the one that shows you the formula so that you can eliminate that stress. Because if we have the cash, we're like, hey, if something happens, I have a security blanket to be able to do something. So instead of going kind of like big picture strategy, scale, growth, my theme for today was, how can I give you a formula to double your income in 91 days? And it was super tactical, meaning, hey, like, what do you post? Where is the call to action? How do you get them on a call? What do you say in the first 5 minutes? What is the script? How do you present? And just rinse and repeat that so you know. Like, you always talk about, like, let's have the systematized formula to creating the transformation so you get paid for that.
Yeah.
And when someone can actually take that and kind of install it in their business and in their lives, they feel this insane sense of, I hate to call it control, but empowerment.
Yeah.
That they can say, hey, something happens in 91 days, I can create insane momentum. And that's a great feeling, a gift to give somebody.
It's an unbelievable feeling. Yeah. So what is in your experience, maybe this client or maybe with a more normal person, because you deal with very high net worth people, what is the number that you found people need what's that buffer to not feel stressed?
It feels like if they don't have at least 1 year of their cash reserves of just how they would, if all shit hit the fan, and they can have a 1 year buffer of just cash reserves.
Mortgage, car, food.
Yeah. So if your monthly nut is $10,000 to live, and if you have $120,000 in the bank, and it's put away, I think that people feel comfortable reinventing themselves in a year. They're like, worst case scenario, in a year, I can completely get back on my feet.
Yeah.
I feel that's, and as people change our lives, my client has, a jet and a yacht, so his number is a little bigger than the average person's number, which is okay, but that stuff was stressing him out. So I told him, I was like, dude, you don't need the yacht. You never even use it.
Yeah.
Like, that will instantly reduce your stress. But it feels like, I think a lot of people psychologically feel like in 1 year they can reinvent themselves in today's world. Like you talk about it, right? You don't even need a year with your system. Like, you can replace rat race income with laptop income in 14 to 21 days if they follow the system.
Very, very closely.
Yeah, if they follow the system.
Yes.
And so, but the 1 year buffer, I think, allows people to get their mind right, get their heart right, get their skills right. And so the 1 year buffer, if I could give the gift of anybody anything, you should be on a mad dash to creating a 1 year buffer. and instantly you will see your life completely change. You can quit your job, you can do other things. That 1 year buffer, I know it's hard for a lot of people, but I would hustle to get that 1 year buffer as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're drowning, and this gets you to treading water and a baseline.
Right.
If you're not there, you deal with a lot of high net worth individuals. You built your real estate company at $3.4 billion in sales a year before you sold to Douglas Elliman. So you deal with these people, and a lot of times when people search someone's name net worth on Google, people like to look at how much is this person worth. David Beckham, how much is he worth? How much is Gary Vaynerchuk worth? They want to know these things. And the numbers they pull up, it's like, wow, he's worth 100 million, he's worth 500 million. Does that mean these people have $500 million in their bank account?
That's not even close, right?
What is the reality?
I probably would say from a liquid asset perspective, and I always say liquid assets is, hey, in 30 days, if I cashed everything out, what number would I get? In a liquid asset perspective, these guys are probably trading like maybe 15%.
Of what the website said, or what their actual net
So
worth is.
if people say your net worth is $100 million, they probably are they're trending at 15 million in liquid net worth.
You give them 30 days.
Yeah, 30 days to generate. They're selling stocks, they're selling bonds, they got some cash. The rest of it is probably you take a Warren Buffett net worth, his 80% of his net worth is in Berkshire Hathaway stock that is restricted that he can't sell. So he has the net worth, meaning he has the asset, or have the house or the jet or the yacht or whatever, but it's not, like even in my private company, you and your private company, you own 100% of all the shares, it's worth, pick a number, $27 million. Well, yeah, my net worth may be $28 million, I have only $1 million in the bank, but the $27 million is in my company.
Yeah.
And I'm using random millions of dollars. The number is very similar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The net worth numbers are unrealistic for most people, and I don't know if that should be the driver though. Like I don't know why that's a driver for a lot of people. That people will tell me things like, well, I want to have a 55 million net worth before I'm 55, and I'm like. And so I ask him, name something you're going to do when you have a $55 million net worth. You can do that right now. There's a good, I want to take 3 weeks off. You can do that right now.
Yeah.
And we have this weird kind of, I don't even know how people pull those numbers out of their butts.
Yeah, especially someone who just built a website and was like, I think they're worth this much, let's put that online. Yeah, and it's definitely an ego thing, it's an approval thing.
Yeah.
Oh, if I have this much net worth, then I'm this is my self-worth, right? Net worth, self-worth, that whole thing. You have a lot of experience with financials and money. Sometimes when we talk and you start going off of these numbers, and you're good at dumbing it down for me because I need that. But at some of these numbers and these the return rate of return and this, and you do it not a 1031, but it's a 1042B or something. Like you speak the language of money in a way most people don't, and you're an immigrant as well. So you speak it in English, which is also equally impressive. Is this a language that more people should learn to speak, and if so, how should they do it?
Yeah, it's the limits of your language are the limits of your world, right? I mean, it's that simple. So a lot of times the reason we don't, let me tell you what I learned from you. You said, hey, if it's not that this XYZ thing is, you don't know how to do it or it's scary, you're like, Sharran, it's just unfamiliar, right? And so no different than language, because everything that we speak about is a mental construct of sorts. So when we say, hey, I have a blueprint for a funnel, people know what it's like. That equates to something in their world, therefore they feel more familiar about it. When I say, hey, I have a asset allocation or a portfolio, I know what it is, I know the constructs, I'm able to talk about it. I think language is super important. We have to educate ourselves, and dude, in today's world, it's free, right?
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. You can get everything. I think there needs to be for the important things in life, I try not to go to YouTube. That's all, right? Like my private clients can learn everything that I quote teach them on YouTube, but it's too important for them. If they want to scale their business, from 33 million to 113 million in 3 years, could they learn all this stuff on YouTube? Sure, but it's too important. And so I don't want to learn about retirement on YouTube. I'd rather hire a professional, right? I want someone else's to have an investment in the process to teach me that. So whenever I always ask myself, is this like life-changing important? Yes, I'm going to hire or get a course or find somebody that I want to learn the language first. And for me, the language is, once you get the language, then everything else starts to make sense. Because, so for example, right, and people always say, we'll use it in marketing terms. People will say, oh, like that's the front end of the funnel. Well, that's good because then when you read an article about the front of the funnel, in your mind's filing cabinet, you know where that goes, so you can reference it and use that swipe file at some point in time.
Yes.
When you don't have the pieces of the language or the construct, you just don't know where it goes. So you may be at a conference and get a great piece of advice, but you don't know where to put it, so you can never reference it again.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, you've taught me that you're like, hey, if you don't script, you don't care. We're not saying you need to just, you know, be extremely scripted in what you do. You should know the framework so that when you learn something new, you know where it fits. So my suggestion would be to say, hey, what do I really care about in my life? If you care about money and if there's a money goal, but you don't have a language around understanding it, then there's probably an opportunity to do better there.
And all right, so let's say someone wants to learn about the money part. Where do they go? I know you said an expert or someone. Google, like.
Yeah. So there's several like little. Can't remember the name of it. I think it's the Wall Street Journal Guide to Financial Terms or something like that, and it's like 30 or 40 pages. We'll link it below, and it's 1 page per term in infographic format.
That's awesome.
I will tell you. Here's how I know this. When I got a job at Goldman, I was talking to clients, CEOs of companies. So you'd go to talk to a CEO of an oil company. They know oil really well. They don't know anything else. And that's okay. They're worth a ton of cash, but they know oil really well. And if I had to explain to them what a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or whatever was, I needed to explain it in a very thoughtful way. So I bought the book, and I literally, Jason, would draw out the same infographic for them. It's because someone else had done that. So I would actually educate them on the basic stuff so that they wouldn't feel, can you imagine a high-powered CEO accepting to you that he or she doesn't know like basic financial terms? So number one, I would say, hey, it's very normal to not know that because we get very specific in what we do, and that's good. You want domain expertise, but I love to find like really basic terms, and like even the books for dummies, I think is really good because that's a good introductory starting point.
Yeah.
It gives you the filing cabinets on where to put stuff, and that would be my first starting point for anything. And then now when you actually watch a YouTube video after that, you know where that information goes and you can discern it in some way. But without a baseline of language, it's really hard to know where to put those pieces.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you are also an avid reader. Just leave that out there. I'm just kidding. My question is this: what books have actually impacted you the most?
Oh man, so there's some non-fiction ones that are really powerful, and there's some and there's some fiction ones that are really powerful too. I love the Ayn Rand series. The Fountainhead is probably my most favorite book of all time, because I believe, if you've never read it, I think it's worth either the audiobook or the real book. But every single person in their transformation can see the journey that Howard Roark went through. Like, it's a really powerful story. It also gets dark, and I think it gives you the permission to go through dark places in your life, and I think that's a really good thing. I've been reading a book recently. It's called When by Daniel Pink, and there's so much information that's coming into our lives these days that has made us understand that, oh, we got to do this, we got to do yoga, we got to do gratitude, we got to do meditation, when do we eat, we got to do keto. There's so many things, but there's this theory of when you do it is super powerful. So wouldn't it be amazing for us to know it's the same amount of effort, but if I just took my workout based on my body type or my mind type or whatever, and instead of doing it at 5 a.m., I did it at 11:30, and I just got 10x more benefit. Like, that's super exciting.
Yes.
So the effort to result ratio is so much better. So I'm really, like, that's been my jam these days is, how can I do the same exact effort, same exact thing, but re-slot it into a different time during my circadian rhythm so that I do better? Last night I went to a sleep doctor, the #1 sleep doctor in the world, Michael Bruce. You should look him up. And he talked about, hey, he gave me a mathematical formula to fix my sleep. Mathematical. And I was like, there's no way. And I did it exactly last night, and I feel amazing today.
That's awesome.
And so he just figured out how to move that. So I think people always talk about the what and the how. And I think for people like you and me, it's the when. The when is really important. And I'm thinking a lot about, hey, when should I do this in my day? When should I call Jason? When is a really powerful thing. And so When by Daniel Pink is a really good book, and from a fiction perspective, Fountainhead is a really powerful one.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I just reread Fountainhead, I think, for the first time. I try and read both every year.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the 4 weeks it takes me to read each one or whatever, but those periods throughout the year when I look back at the end of the year, whenever I do like my end of year, where were my peaks this year? What was I happiest?
Yeah.
When I was reading those books.
Yeah.
And every time I reread it, there's new things
yeah, because you never step in the same river twice, right? Like
it's a different person.
Yeah, it's a different person reading the book. Yep. And the interesting part is like a lot of people tell me, well, I don't have time to read, etc. I'm like, it's okay. The one thing that I've realized is I have a lot of books on my nightstand, and I've taken away the pressure of finishing one. So I read it, and if I'm not into it, I just put it down. Yeah. So we have this strange social pressure that we impose on ourselves that I started this book, so I have to finish it even if I don't enjoy it. That's crazy. Yeah. I don't enjoy it, put it down. You pick another one or don't pick another one. That's totally fine. If you want to read one page, you want to read 10, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I think some of this needs to be our journey, our escape, our growth, and I think there's an opportunity to have control over that stuff.
Totally. Yeah. But the no time to read is like such a... my friend Alex Ramosi, he says when people say, I don't have time, like he's on gyms, right? Yeah. People are like, why'd you leave the program? I just didn't have time to get to the workout. Okay, do you have time for Netflix? Right? And you'd be like, well, okay, so clearly you have the time, you just didn't like the experience. Let's talk, like help me make the experience better, right? Yeah. Everyone has time. The other one I've heard is when someone says I don't have time, just add the words for that to the end of it. Oh. Because it's about priorities, right? Yeah. You don't have time for that, but you do have time for Netflix and for scrolling on your phone. Yeah. So your priorities are fucked.
Well, I think there's a... you and I've talked a lot about this. If you want to do great things, I'm sorry, you just have to do fewer things. Yes. And it's okay. People talk about no being a complete sentence. I think that can be rude. I just think not now is way better than no. Because I think I don't even think people mean no when they say no. What they really mean is not right now. Right. That's what they mean anyways. Have you read Never Split the Difference? Yeah. Right. He talks about how no is not no at all, right? It's usually just an affirmation of someone's like strength that they, like, okay, no, and then you just keep going. And like a lot of times I've heard a lot of no's turn into a lot of yeses. I've said no. My default is no to people, and then 3 seconds later I'm saying yes. So my no didn't mean no. I was just like, I generally say no because I don't have time. But then I hear it, I'm like, oh, you know what? Yes, gelato, Sharran, yes, I'm in. I honestly, if you can't, if you look back at your year or your 12 months ahead and you're like, I'm not at a place where I want to be, it's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just you're probably doing too many things. And because at some point when you just kick off, the 10 priorities to 2, you'll figure out a way to get those other 2, or you'll figure out a chance to ask for help. You're like, I know these two are not working. I don't know what to do with them. I'm going to go ask for help. At least you'll get there, but with the 10, you just bounce around and dilute your priorities. Do you have a framework that you use so if you have 10 things to figure out what are the 2 I should focus on? Yes and no. I think that's hard. I think those, we talk about like transformations don't happen in isolation, right? I think that's a process of prioritizing where you want your life to go. I don't think you can do it on your own. I think it's way better done with a little bit of outside eyes with a coach or a mentor. Because when I do it with my coach, and she's like, well, why did you rank that number 4? And then you kind of talk through it, you're like, oh, that should actually not even be on this list. And I don't, because when you're in your story a lot, and it's very hard to like look at yourself that way. So at least in the prioritization process, I don't think it's a science, and I think you do better with a person that can help you with it. Yeah. And that's why, that's why a coach and mentor is really, really powerful. And people always say, oh, like Sharran doesn't know the oil industry. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do anything about the oil industry. I just have to get a chance to giving you the answer, giving you the transformation, like solving and giving you the bridge to what you're doing. Yeah, and a lot of times, right, you don't need to know oil, you just need to know the person. And human psychology, that's it, because it's the person who's gonna do the thing. Right. Yeah. Right. Totally. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing your time. This is awesome.
You rocked it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
As always.
That was fun. Thank you. Man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We'll see you guys soon.